We spend a great deal of time on this program talking about people who make decisions for the rest of us. Usually they're elected because the whole notion of government is you can't have, well, maybe in our modern electronic age, everyone could vote on every subject, but the idea has been we are a representative republic. And that pretty much permeates all the way down to the local levels of government, where you have people you choose and you hope that they go and do their best work when they make decisions that impact our daily lives. But as you know, if you've listened to this program, we have argued that a great many of those so-called vastly learned people who live far, far away sometimes make decisions and they have no idea what life is like here or how it impacts us. But how about those people who we select and who work for us on the local level, who live in our communities and sometimes can't seem to hit the mark? I've got two stories today I'd like to mention because I think that there's a relation between the two. One is out of Burley, and the other is out of the Nampa-Caldwell area, and I'm going to share them in just a moment. But first, I do want to remind you, I do expect we'll be seeing Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game between 9 and 10 o'clock this morning. So if you have a comment or question, keep in mind he's here to answer all of those. Plus, he'll tell us what's going on, what seasons are coming up, and spring is too far away. If you woke up this morning, when I first got up, it was 48. Down to about 44 now, but it was 48. No, now we're at 37. Let me just take a quick update. We've dropped almost 10, 11 degrees this morning. A big wind, and then that was followed by rain. It's cooled off somewhat. It's not the end of the world. And we obviously realize the better weather is coming, and that means a lot of people are going to be outdoors. So Kelton is talking with us about all of that when he arrives in a short while. In the meantime, I wanted to bring this up. A couple of things. This is a story out of the Times News this morning. What will the Burley school bond buy? What happens if it fails? And the writer is a woman named Lori Welch. Let me just share a couple of things that she has to say, and then I'm going to reflect on that if I can. Voters in Cassia County will decide March 8th. That's primary day for Republicans in the state, so a great many will be voting, I guess, on a couple of different items. We won't say they're voting twice. That might give the impression this is Chicago. Whether to pass an additional $14.9 million construction bond to make up for a shortfall caused by inaccurate estimates. Some officials say the projects are now or never. The nearly $15 million, see that now or never, first of all. Oh, if you don't do this now, it'll never happen. Well, why do we have to do it now? Oh, because tens of thousands of people are going to be moving to the valleys. Well, won't they be able to pay for it? Ooh, well, we don't know about that. Maybe they'll all be impoverished. If you're going to have more people here, likely they're coming because they're going to be coming here for work and living, and they'll be paying taxes as well. So the now or never is a hollow threat. The nearly $15 million in addition to the $37 million bond passed in March, school officials announced in November that cost estimates for new schools and remodeling projects across the district far exceeded the original bond amount. The 20-year bond issue will require a supermajority vote to pass. That's basically two-thirds, 66.6%. If the bond passes, it's going to increase property taxes for each $100,000 of assessed value by $23.64 a year for residential and $47.28 for commercial and agriculture. And the politicians always say, that's about the price of a case of beer, at least the kind of beer we drink, which is a little bit more expensive than the kind of beer you drink. So if all of you beer drinkers out there would skip a case this year, what's the big deal? And are you against educating our children? That's the arguments that they will use in all of this. But how do you do this? How do you come up with an estimate and you're off by such an incredibly large amount, and less than a year later, you're saying to people, we goofed. But remember, we're the smartest people in town, so we're here to tell we've got to do this because it's now or never, and it's only going to be the price of a case of decent beer. Well, maybe mid-range beer. Some of those other, you get the stuff that comes out of those microbreweries in Oregon and Montana and Boise, and usually it's much more expensive. I'm not telling you this because I know a lot about beer. I used to, but I don't know much anymore. But I'm taking a pretty good educated guess as to what the prices may be. My point being, they were off by almost a third. This is not, $2 million would be a lot if they'd been off $2 million. But they were off $15 million. Dang it, that's a big, big roll. How did they manage to get it so incredibly wrong? And I wanted to mention that off the top of the program today, and there's some other stories too here about other school and systems in the area. But it just seems to me that somebody, their brains were out to lunch on that particular day when they came up with the cost estimates, or, they were relying on somebody's brother-in-law to do the estimate because he got a nice roll of change for it too as well because he was related to somebody making the decision. Who knows? I am just doing a lot of conjecture here. I was not involved with any of the initial, hat in hand begging to the public for all of this when it comes to this project. Now, number two, this is not related in the sense it has anything to do with education, but it shows you again how somebody in charge of an organization can't manage to get their lives in order, and because of that, they impact other people's lives. This is from the Press Tribune out of Nampa. Family of euthanized dog may seek lawsuit. A local family whose dog Bunny was euthanized without their knowledge at the West Valley Humane Society may seek a lawsuit against the animal shelter. Jonathan Perry, the executive director of the West Valley Humane Society, has been placed on unpaid administrative leave while the shelter's board investigates. When the Combs family came to pick up their dog on Friday, the dog had gone missing. They have a big piece of property. The dog wasn't wearing a collar because it had a neck rash, so for a few days they took the collar off to let the rash heal. The dog got away, and apparently someone, there's a lost doggy. Excuse me, there never is a lost dog. Let's get that straight. Your dog knows exactly where it lives. That's why sometimes a dog will cross the entire continental United States to get home. Okay? So when you hear say, there's a lost dog, your dog isn't a 2-year-old child wandering the streets. Your dog has a homing sense and knows exactly where it is. It just takes off once in a while to explore. But it will get home if you allow that to happen. So all of you do-gooders out there who are scooping up dogs out in the street, you're probably not doing the dog any favors, and you're probably not doing the family any favors. The only reason you should be scooping up that dog is if it's being aggressive, which apparently Bunny was not. Bunny was not adopted out, but was instead. Now, what had happened, the family was told Bunny's picture is on the website, and sure enough, Bunny's picture was there, up for adoption. Well, when they got there to pick up Bunny after being told Bunny was apparently available, Bunny had been euthanized. Well, the vet determined that Bunny had a health issue. I guess the rash, right? Was that it? Well, they say Bunny was having seizures. Well, who knows? She was thrown in to a situation far from home, apparently locked up in this shelter with other dogs. And even apparently while the family was there one day, they were told Bunny had been in the shelter, but they didn't see Bunny or find her anywhere. How does something like this happen? Well, we're very busy here and we're overwhelmed. Well, that does not excuse it. Back in 1997, I guess it was, I was working at a TV station and the best friend I had there got a job out of town. We threw him a going-away party and I took all the photographs. And the next day, the two of us ran to Walmart, and we had to go to Walmart to pick up a couple of small things for his boxing tape and the like for his last bit of packing that he was doing. And we walked by this place that said 1 hour photo, and I dropped off the film. I said, ha. When we come back a bit later, that it'll be done. Well, we got back and they said, well, we're really busy today. And I said, well, yeah, but the sign doesn't say 1 hour photo unless we're really busy. It just says 1 hour photo. You see, the public doesn't care about those things. When you make promises or you say you're in business for a particular reason, you can't. I had a consultant working with us in television who said to me, if somebody calls and says, well, you didn't have a lot of local news on today, you can't just say, well, we had a couple of people out sick. When you go to your favorite diner and they put a bunch of slop in front of you and you say, what's wrong with us? Well, the regular cook's out sick. Yes, but I didn't come in here because sometimes you provide me with a great meal. I come here because you tell me you're always going to provide me with a great meal. You understand? So nobody can excuse this. Nobody can excuse what's going on at that Humane Society because, well, we're busy. So we're just killing dogs willy-nilly and, we don't have a good accounting system and we don't know whose dog we're killing. And I'm sorry, it's not going to work. And they're going to lose their shorts on this one with a lawsuit. Maybe the family won't win, but the Humane Society still has to go to court and hire its own legal counsel and dig into its insurance, and that means its rates will go up. And then with the school system, you get back to that too. Who's the planner who came up 1/3 short? Again, it's not a small amount. If the guy came out and said, well, look, we were off by $250,000. on a 30-some million-dollar project. Okay, I could see how that happened. There are fluctuations in the market. Could be wood's a little more expensive this year, or concrete's a little more expensive this year. But to be nearly one-third off on an amount so high, it's dereliction. That's all you can say. And then people wonder why voters are so steamed and so angry. It's because we're digging into our pockets, and then you're pumping out our blood to pay for all of these things. We're giving our left arms and our firstborn sons, and you can't get the job done that you claimed you were going to get done when you first took office. 817, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. We're back up to 38. If you'd like to reach our program today, you can do that by dialing us at 736-0300. That's 736-0300. But it gives you an insight into why people don't trust institutions any longer. You're up next, and you're on the air.
I guarantee you they've learned from the federal government, and this thing that you're talking about has nothing to do with the additional costs, and they're just sticking it on the end.
That well could be. Perhaps they knew it in the beginning, and now they come out and they say, well, it's got to be now or never, right?
Exactly. There's more of that mistrust you're talking about.
Absolutely. Sure. I thank you very much for the telephone call. You can also email me today by dropping me a line at bill.colley@townsquaremedia.com, bill.colley@townsquaremedia.com. You're up next, and you're on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com.
Just something to point out when it comes to school districts. If you noticed in the paper the other day, they're talking about remodeling the Twin Falls School District.
Right.
But don't worry about it, because it's all included in the emergency and the plant facilities levy that's already in place. So they take that. They got $75 million to do all kinds of stuff. They started on tracks and outbuildings instead of school. Canyon Ridge is under construction. I'm betting money in the next year to two they come back and we need some more money. That vision you're talking about, some of the people coming in need to pay as well.
Yes. Thank you. Great point there at the very end of that call, too. 819, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. My old high school, when I graduated 2 years later, there was a huge bond issue. They had to build a new gymnasium. They just had to do it. And we'd had a couple of state champions, so they were playing on people's pride, and they said, oh, our gym's too small. It throws off our timing when we go play elsewhere. Really? How did we win the state titles? Oh, well, that was just because of our overwhelming talent. But in the future, So they built this gymnasium that was nearly as big as the rest of the school, spending millions and millions of dollars. And then they turned around and said, oh, we're going to have to merge with another school and build a new school with another new gymnasium. What about the one we just built? That's no good any longer. No, wrong part of town. Kelton Hatch coming up in hour number 2 of our program from Idaho Fish and Game. Hope you can stick around for that as well. And hope you have a great morning, despite the rain.